Well, my name is Phil Kuhl. I was brought up in Miles, Iowa, a little town of about 350 people. We were really poor, if I look back. I would work in my mom's beauty shop, cleaning things up, taking the wrappers off of these curlings stuff. And I worked in the grocery store. I started grade school at 4, which meant that I graduated when I was 16. Went to school at Laureate College in Dubuque. Was way too young. End of the first year, I jumped in a car with a friend from college, and we drove to Oregon. And I worked for the Forest Service fighting fires. But when I came back from Oregon, I went back to college, still thinking I could make it. I couldn't. I lasted a semester, and then I quit. I had no direction. I spent a lot of nights sleeping in my car. I ended up getting a really, maybe, might have been the most important job of my life, really. I worked for the Chicago Northwestern Railroad. It was a major league dirty job. It was hot or cold. It was really smoky, incredibly loud. The boss was wanting to get 8 cars through that day, and he was saying, "Hurry up, hurry up." And I started to cry. And I said, "Man, I can't, this got to be something better to do with my life." So I quit. I don't care about the money. I'm going to get something that fits me. Way back when I was smaller, working in my dad's grocery store, the meat guy came in. "Philip," he said, "you should be a salesman." Well, there was a sales job at the J.C. Penney company, and so I went to work for Penny's. And I loved it. It was great. The store manager there, he says, "You know, you would do really good at the J.C. Penney company, but you have to go back to college." I got married when I was 21. I'm going to get my degree so I can be a penny manager. And so for the next 3 years, I'm working 40 hours a week at Penny's, and I'm going to school, studying late at night. I was 27 when my neighbor, who was a claim adjuster for a company called Employers of Wausau, said, Hey Phil, would you come and do an interview for me? They're looking for a salesman down in Peoria. I don't want to be an insurance salesman. I mean, but I took the interview. They offered me a job, and it was way more money than I was making. And so they transferred me to Peoria, and that's how I got here. I worked for that company, Employers of Wausau, for about 7 years. I took a job as a broker, working with an agent down in Decatur. On Monday morning, February 5th, 1979, my key didn't work in the office, and I learned that I had been terminated. I had 2 kids in college, but I said, I'm going to try. So I put up a shingle, Kuhl and Company Insurance. There were times in the mid-'80s when I wasn't sure that I made the right decision, more than once. I was on my knees, I'll tell you. Failure always made me stop and say, what am I going to do? I knew there were 5 main segments in my life. I had work, an economic spoke. I had community spoke. I had my family. I had myself. And I had a spiritual spoke, God. The important thing is to keep them in balance. When life gets messed up is when one of them gets too long or too short. When I think about what advice would I like to give if I'm going to be running a company, I know I have to be a good manager. I'm not a very good manager. I know that, in particular in our work, we have to be really good detail people. I'm not a good detail person. I know that we need to look at the big picture and say, here's where we want to go. I'm good at that. So I would hire absolutely the best people I can get. We have to decide what it is we are, and maybe kind of think about what we're not. These days, I'm not involved in the business. I just gradually let go of it. They never did hold a retirement party for me. I still haven't had any retirement cake. I could do a program on banjos.